Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, with special guest appearances from Andrew Hoags Hoganson, three avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Minnesota Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? The Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegran, G-R-A-N, group at edinarealty.com or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' three-game series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The border battle was upon us here. The Milwaukee Brewers come to Target Field. They take 2 of 3 in a series, Dan, that the Twins were much more competitive than I even really expected them to be. I mean, they had a chance in each one of these games.
Yeah, I think the Brewers are pretty good. They're much better than the last couple teams the Twins have played, the Guardians and the Marlins. And yet the Twins do get the one, and we feel like they could have won all 3.
No question. So I do have to say, I went to the game on Friday night. It wasn't the most relaxing game. I went with a buddy and his wife and his kids, and we had our kids and my wife, and it was just, there was a lot happening, Dan, okay? Most of the time, I was not able to watch the game. I was opening snacks, or I was moving a child from one side of me to the other side of me, or I was saying, don't throw beer cans at other people, things like that, Dan. And so it wasn't the most relaxing game. I didn't really get to talk to my buddy or his wife very much, which was a little bit disappointing. But what I will say, Dan, offering $2 beers to people from Wisconsin before they watch their Brewers play is a dangerous, dangerous combination here.
They do love their beverages over there. You didn't bring a dog, at least, David. That was smart, right? One less thing to worry about there.
Dog, but Dan, I did see a couple of guys get thrown out. Like, it was rowdy, Dan. And
were they Brewers
It was
fans
probably
who got thrown
out?
Oh,
yeah, and it was 60-40s Brewers for sure.
Well, on the radio, that's what it sounds like, right? I mean, you can hear the cheers, and you're like, wait, you got to retrain yourself. You're like, cheer is bad, actually, when the Brewers are in town.
Well, do you know that's the hardest thing when I'm trying to teach my kids to cheer for the Twins and they're sitting there just chanting along, let's go Brewers, because that's what everybody's doing. They're buying into the peer pressure so young. What am I supposed to do here?
It's very difficult. But, so the Twins are still, I believe they're in 3rd place still in the AL Central. They're just kind of lurking there in the middle, and they're only about 4.5 back. Such as the AL Central, I suppose, where they still have a chance, unlike the NL Central, where the Brewers are in a dogfight with 3 or 4 other teams above 500. It's really weird.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the AL Central a little bit later with a crazy ending that just happened, actually. And we'll give a little bit more in-depth view of the Twins' postseason chances, Dan. But for the time being, let's go ahead and jump into the series recap.
Series recap.
Game 1, Dan. Brewers come away with this one 3-2. Top of the first, Ryan struggles early. He manages to escape only allowing 1 run, but the Brewers are up 1-0, and his pitch count was at like 30-something by the end of the first. But really quiet until the Twins have a chance in the bottom of the 5th. Clemens is hit by a pitch. Kreidler gets a single. So you got runners on first and third.
No, it's Kreidler. Ryan.
You tell me, Dan.
Ryan Kreidler. It's Ryan Kreidler, David.
There's no way they're going to have Kreidler up there doing anything.
However you say his name, he hits a single. So you got runners on first and third. And if we learned anything from last series, Derek Shelton loves himself a double steal, especially when there's a guy at the plate who you can't really count on to make contact. So you got Jams out, make at the plate. Seems like a great opportunity. Instead, Kreidler tries to steal second straight. Clemens stays on third base, and he's thrown out. It was an ugly slide, Dan. It was not a close play at second. I was pretty sad about that.
No,
but then
the base running in the series just wasn't great for the Twins there. No. They had a number of guys thrown out.
Yes, well, Clemens later had an issue as well where he got thrown out between second and third, and that would have – doesn't matter. Anyway, bottom of the 6th, so Outman and Martin single. Lee grounds into a double play, but Outman scores. So it's a tie game 1-1. Top of the 7th, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but Ryan's at 90 pitches. Shelton goes to Rogers. He struggles, but he gets through the inning without allowing a run. But again, you're churning this Brewers lineup, which is really top-heavy. And it's very frustrating when you're letting them get back to the top of the order very quickly because you're letting so much traffic on the base paths, and that's going to come back to haunt them here. Bottom of the 7th, the Twins take a lead on 3 straight singles from Keishel, Clemens, and Lewis. Now, Lewis hit an RBI. For those of you who are saying that redeems everything that Royce Lewis has ever done in his life, is he got one RBI hit.
Hold on, are people actually saying that? I don't think there's a lot of Royce Lewis lovers out there right now.
The Twins broadcasters are, Dan, I think, for sure. At least that. But so the Twins are up 2-1. Top of the 8th, though, it falls apart for the Twins here. Andrew Morris is ineffective. The Brewers go single. Churio singles on a ball that Lee had a chance at. They gave him a hit, and I think that was a hometown nod to Brooks Lee because Brooks Lee definitely had a play on that ball. So Turing singles, there's runners on first and third. Turing steals second, there's runners on second and third. And then we're going to talk about this play later with Royce at third base and everything that happens. It doesn't really matter because then Bowers hits a double and it scores a couple. So Brewers are up 3-2. That's how it ends, Dan. We will circle back to this play at third base, though. As you can imagine, because there wasn't a umpire explanation for the fans in the stands, a lot of people were just like, what?
They didn't say
happening?
anything at the game about that to anybody? Everybody's probably looking on their phones then. They're probably like following along. That is the thing about this is like, if it's said on the broadcast, they need to say it in the stadium because everybody can access the broadcast. It's just distracting and unnecessary. Like, just say what happened. Even if the PA guy comes over, the ump doesn't say anything. Like, I'm going to interrupt for a second and just tell you all what happened. Like, some kind of communication I think would be really helpful in those spots.
Yes. Well, why don't you go ahead and walk us through game 2, Dan?
Yeah, so I wanted to say the Twins were going to win this one, but I have to say Brewers first. The Brewers win this game 2-1. Let's start with the good. Connor Prielipp, who I'll talk about later, goes 6, 2 runs, just 1 earned, 3 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. His ERA is at 2.88. And then Orsi and Gomez combined for 3 scoreless innings, and you have to be thinking after that, oh, great, the Twins beat the Brewers. They did not beat the Brewers. Trevor Larnach was back in the lineup. He hit his second home run, but their miscues and missed opportunities hurt the Twins here. The big one is 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Top of the 4th there's also another Lewis play with runners at first and second and 1 out. Lewis totally whiffs as he charges a ball hit at him. A run scores. You were the chosen one! Play it again, Sam. And I tell you, and then in the top of the 6th, Jackson Churio's solo home run gives the Brewers a lead. That lasts, so it's 2-1. Bottom of the 7th, Twins have a great chance to tie. So Jams out, make triples with 1 out, and then Martin pops the ball into left. And I thought at first Churio didn't catch this ball. He did catch it, but he rolled around on the ground enough that you would think that James Outman could have gotten up and then run and tried to score on the tag.
It was a weird play because he slid, so clearly Outman can't exactly read what's happening, and he's not sure if he needs to tag yet or not. But I agree, in that moment, knowing how this team is just ineffective with guys on base and just making contact, I think you got to take your chances there.
Agreed. And the Twins go 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 8th and the 9th, and so the Brewers hold on and win this one by a run.
Yeah, well, thankfully, Dan, I texted you before this game, and I said, Dan, I hope they win, because we can only have so many shows where we're just sad the entire time. So a little bit of optimism here, a little bit of positivity. Twins win this one 5-4. Bottom of the 1st, it is a familiar story for the Twins, though. I'm on the radio at this point, coming home from church. So they score 1 on a Cody Clemens double, but then they load the bases with 2 outs. And Royce Lewis strikes out on a pitch that's just nowhere near the zone. And at this point, Dan, you know how each of the pitching people get their little prospectus or their scouting reports about the other team's hitters, and the catchers and the pitchers meet about how they're going to. Do you think when they're looking at Royce Lewis, it just says, just throw it anywhere except the zone, and he's gonna swing at it, Dan?
I don't even think it has to say that. Like, just throw a couple pitches in different places, and he will eventually get so confused that he'll just swing at whatever you throw at him. And it was sad because he made some contact, he followed off some pitches. And then he swings at the one high in the zone. I did have a feeling that maybe he was going to finally break through, but he's Royce Lewis. And he's 2026 Royce, not 2023 Royce right now we're working with.
I hope that line makes it back to Royce, and it'll be like when Jordan changed to 45, and then people said 45 doesn't explode like 23. It's sort of,
there you go. Easy enough.
Oh, my goodness. Dan, that's the key here. That is the key. Royce Lewis needs to change his number from 23 to 45.
I'm a little stitious.
How have they not thought about this, Dan? This is brilliant.
I don't think they have a 40. Oh, Travis Adams is number 45. So
who?
You can't.
It doesn't matter. Send him down.
He's one of those guys.
No, send him down. I'm not even joking. I will at the Twins right now and tell them this is the best idea I've ever. This is better than the banana ball double play, carrying over to the next inning.
Do you think? I mean, a tiger can't change his stripes, right? Like, maybe for Royce it would work.
That's what I'm saying.
He's all about the mental game, right? Royce don't slump, sorts of things like that.
Oh, do you ever wonder if he stays up at night just thinking about that quote? Because I gotta think he's
because he's got so many more since then that he can talk about. Oh man, I wonder what he'll say after Game 3. Okay. Anyway, back to the game here. Talk us through the second.
Yes. Top of the second here, Ober walks the leadoff man who comes around to score, so it's tie game 1-1. You got runners on second and third after a sac bunt, but Ober gets Churio to line out to end the threat. Bottom of the third now, Jeffers singles, Cody Clemens doubles to left field, but this is it's a fun play. Go watch the replay on this one. Churio goes up, and it bounces off the wall, so he misses the ball, and then he throws it to cutoff man Ortiz, the shortstop, and he throws this ball in. I don't know where exactly, but the ball goes out of play, and so the umps give Clemens third base and a home, leading to a little league home run.
I knew exactly what to do, but in a much more real sense, I had no idea what to do.
How did you get 2 bases on that?
Well, I think he had rounded second, and so I think the umps just said you get them both. I didn't look into the rules to be fair,
that's
how
that
all
works.
works.
When I heard that, I was like, we got a double, and then I just thought you only got the 1 base. But anyway, I was very happy to see that they gave him 2.
It's umps' discretion, I think, right? Depending on where they think he would have ended up.
So when do they get? This is so maddening about umpire discretion, right? Is that I would discrete something very different. I would come up with a different thing in some of these situations here. It's this is one of the beauties of baseball when you're a kid, right? Is because you can never get 18 kids to play baseball together. So you have to bring trees into the baseball game and things like that, where you would have to hit it. If you hit it and hit this neighbor's house or you hit that tree, it was a double or a single or an out.
Yeah.
And I guess that is one of the things I do love about baseball. But that play still surprised me that he got home plate after all that.
Well, when a ball is thrown out of play, per the MLB rulebook, they're awarded 2 bases. I don't think that's always the case. That's what it says. So I'm not exactly sure. I want to fact check that. That was a very quick AI search. I know you love that.
Oh, man, my favorite source for everything, David. Does it have any graphics to give us for that, too? Did it draw out the scene for us?
I'll ask it, too. I'll ask it to create a video example for us. But anyway, so Twins are up 3-1. Top of the fourth and top of the fifth. Ober gives up 2 solo shots to tie the game at 3-3. But the Twins get one back on their own solo shot from Ryan Jeffers. So Twins are up 4-3. Bottom of the eighth here, Dan, why don't you walk us through what takes place next?
Yeah, key insurance run. Keichel triples Churio. Churio was doing a lot of fielding and not fielding in this series, it seemed like. A ball that he caught, then it bounced out of his glove, then it was a wacky play. But then Caratini, who I'm afraid of, hit a sacrifice fly to bring him in, so it's 5-3. It does get dicey in the ninth with Garcia on the mound. But after a quick out, the Brewers get a couple guys on base. Garcia strikes out Yelich, which was a huge surprise to me after he fell down 2 balls and no strikes. But then after an RBI singles by Jake Bauers, Garcia gets Sal Frelick to pop out behind Caratini in the shadows, and the game ends 5-4 with the Twins' victory.
Dan, it did get dicey there. I was nervous. The Twins clearly don't have a guy they can trust out of the bullpen. And when it comes to using CBD products, Dan, don't take your risks with other products here because we have a new sponsor, Dan, Cascade CBX Sport, the world's first and only sport CBD developed by athletes for athletes. It's NSF certified, free of 300 banned substances, and is the first choice of athletes to manage pain and reduce inflammation. Pros, college athletes, even the weekend warrior that's sore from pickleball. Cascade CBX Sport is so confident their products will become a game changer for you that they're giving our listeners a very special deal. Visit CascadeCBXSport.com/team. That's CascadeCBXSport.com/team. And for the low price of $5, free shipping, you get a code for their 300 milligram sample jar. I think that retails for like $25, Dan. This isn't cheap stuff, but this is a great opportunity to try it out for yourself. It's a no-brainer. Visit CascadeCBXSport.com/team and see what all the fuss is about, folks. Trust the Shield to stay on the field.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
Well,
Hope's coming through.
Yeah, I was frustrated about this here because, so he gets the home run from Jeffers here with 9, so he has 9 points. I did check. Cody Clemens also had 9 points. He got hit by a pitch, which is always tricky, but that does count a point for Puckett's Picks. But Jeffers hit a home run. Cody Clemens did not. And so Hogs gets the win there. I picked Trevor Larnach, who had 4 points, and he's basically 1 game plus an inning. You picked Martin, who had nothing. And then the listeners took Byron Buxton, who did not actually appear in this series. And so I would actually argue if he's in this series, you got to think that they find a way to win game 1 or 2 just because a Buxton play would have made the difference.
Oh, I think either Larnach or Buxton in game 1 and the Twins win that game. I was really bummed actually because there were a lot of opportunities for Shelton to go to one of them, and I kind of thought maybe it was one of those Mauer situations where he's coming back from bilateral leg weakness and he comes out in the big moment and he strikes out, or I don't know, hits a dribbler to third. I forget what he did. It was a huge moment. Bramer was so excited. And he's like, "Look at this, folks! Here he comes out of the dugout. The first time we're gonna see him taking it bat." And then what does he do, Dan? He does nothing. I was so disappointed.
Anyway, well, season standings wise, the listeners still have a lead at 7 points. I'm in second with 4.5, but then Hogs has tied you for third now because you got that half point bonus. So you're each at 4 points. I think let's go ahead and let's look at Beast versus Bench.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
Yeah, I got to go with Jeffers here, Dan. I just think that he is having himself the year that he needed to entering free agency, because he's going to hit the market because there's no way the Twins are going to extend him, and he's going to get paid, Dan. I just think that he plays so well behind the plate. Obviously, his ABS stats speak for themselves. He's leveled out a little bit. He's not as good at the
No, but you're right. I think that's a big part of his draw now, right? He's been very good with the strike zone.
Yes, but so I just think that he's a guy who, we talked about this last episode, I think the Twins should look into locking him up. I understand you got some young catching prospects, but a lot of them are at least a season or two away, Dan. I think signing Jeffers, if he can't get the mega deal he wants for like 5 to 7 years for a crazy amount of money, maybe he signs a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal for the Twins for a little bit more reasonable amount. But again, I don't know if he wants to stay here either, but I'm going to go with Jeffers anyway here as my Beast.
I am going to go with Connor Prielipp, who pitched really well again for the Twins here. He gets 6 innings. As I ran his line earlier. I'm really impressed with just the 2 walks, with the 8 strikeouts, and he's a lefty. They need a lefty in this rotation. It's felt like it's been a really long time since they had an effective lefty in the rotation. I'm sure somebody could actually tell me the real numbers, but I just think what he's brought to this group, and especially with Todd Bradley potentially coming back off of the injured list pretty soon, it does give them the flexibility to try to do something else with SWR, who is notably out of options. So they're going to have to try to move SWR, I would think, to the bullpen. I don't think you can in good conscience give him another start. And Prielipp is a big reason why I think they've created this logjam in the starting rotation here.
Yeah, I think the problem is if you do try and send SWR down because he's out of options, I think he will get claimed by a team and they'll see if they can fix him because he has been effective previously as a starter. So I do think you'd have to keep him around. I just don't know that you can run him out for a start. Yet Taj Bradley did actually make a rehab start for the Saints today. He threw like 46 pitches. He gave up a hit and a couple of walks, I think. But again, he's just making sure he can throw when he's not feeling any more pain in his pec or wherever the injury was. So I think he'll be back. I bet his next start will be at the big leagues for sure, Dan.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
Look at you using words like pec and flexor and fluxor and all kinds of things like that.
I don't want to flex my medical muscles here, Dan, but all day yesterday, I was at my parents' house. My mom just had knee replacement surgery. I was Nurse David. I put on the little nurse outfit and everything. It was great. I am not throwing away my shot.
Oh, man, that's an image right there. Nurse David with the hat.
Nurse David. Let's do it. Okay, who do you have on your bench?
Yeah, so I took the bait, the easy pick, whatever you want to say. Royce Lewis is making his name known for all the wrong reasons, right? So the miscue in the field, you're going to talk about the interference play in a bit, so I won't talk about that. But the big spot with the bases loaded in the bottom of the first, he just does not look like a confident guy out there right now. But that play at third where he just kind of lets the ball go by, I just don't know what that means. Like, just a mental mistake, a physical mistake. I don't even know if you can send him down. Like, I don't know what the option is for Royce. It seems like Derek has been trying everything here with him.
I don't think you can keep him here, Dan. Like, I know we talked about this last episode as well, but it's going to be a constant talking point until they do something. But you can't keep him on the roster and keep sitting him like this. I mean, Shelton, though, to be fair, he sat Keishall too, and both of those guys are guys who are struggling, who kind of need to turn it around. Keishall, we thought, had turned a corner, but I think he is still struggling a little bit. But Royce, the bright spots are so few and far between, Dan. You can't keep doing this to him, I don't think.
As for you?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Brooks Lee, actually, Dan.
He's got a back problem.
Goes 1 for 12, and honestly, he should have had an error in game 1. Okay, I understand. Even if he makes the play cleanly, I don't know that he gets Churio at first, but it was just a big moment here that was very disappointing that had he been able to turn that play, it really changes the whole vibe of game 1, which we're going to talk about game 1 here. The next 2 segments, Dan. I was at game 1. I didn't even feel like I really got to watch it because I had my kids, and yet I still am just furious about everything that happened. So let's go ahead and go into Derek's debrief, Dan.
You ever seen Buck with his pants down? No.
Derek's debrief.
All right, so let me cook here, Dan. Let me cook.
Please.
Joe Ryan, I understand he had an injury scare, and I understand that can be very scary, and I understand that you want him healthy for the trade deadline. But at the same point, Dan, in a game when you're this close to having a win, you can't go to your bullpen here in game 1, top 7. Ryan's at 90 pitches. Throw him out there. See if he can get the guys quick. Like say, hey, you know what, Joe? Just throw strikes. Don't walk anybody. Just throw strikes, and we're just going to see what happens. Because honestly, that's what I would rather have happen. And I think that's what's frustrating to me right now watching our bullpen. Nothing bothers me more than when our bullpen walk people. Just throw strikes. Honestly, because this is what we need from you. We don't need you to try and be these sneaky backdoor slider guys who are getting all these strikeouts. I need you to throw strikes and not allow base runners on without forcing them to hit the ball, because it's absolutely killing us. I understand you don't have the greatest stuff. I don't care. Just stop walking, guys, please.
There he is, beating that dead horse.
It's the bases loaded argument where you'd rather. They haven't
make
done
them
that
beat you.
Yeah.
No, they have, but make them beat you. That's what I'm saying. It's just so frustrating when these guys are issuing free passes when it's like, at least make them make contact here, Dan.
Well, so you mentioned the bullpen. I love the idea of making Andrew Morris a high leverage guy. Now, I know he blew a save in game 2. I'm going to blame Royce partially for that. But I think if there's a path forward for the bullpen this season that I think it would be a positive, is it's establishing some of these young guys as high leverage relief guys. You're smirking, you're smiling here, like through this whole commentary of mine. Why are you doing that?
Well, I just don't understand in what universe you think that putting Andrew Morris in high leverage situations is anything that Derek Shelton would choose to do unless he was forced to do it.
No, I think he's made a conscious choice here that Andrew Morris is going to get those as a teacher.
What was the other option?
Well,
I guess that's what I don't understand.
So sometimes you need leaders in classrooms, right? And so you just kind of have to like pick guys who are, but they have great potential to actually be a leader. Like it doesn't matter whether I'm sure there's a quote about a leader. Leaders are, great. Some men are thrust, and greatness is thrust upon them, right? In some situations, greatness has been thrust upon Andrew Morris, and he has no other choice but to step up and pitch well for this team.
So, okay, I realize this means nothing to anybody, but I love the Dick Van Dyke Show so much. It's like one of my favorite shows of all time. But there's an episode where a mobster comes into Dick Van Dyke's writing office. He writes for a comedy show, and the mobster comes in, and he basically tells Rob and his comedy writing staff that they need to write a routine for his nephew, and it needs to be the best routine ever because the nephew basically has to make or break it. But anyway, at the end of that scene, when the mobster leaves, they're all scared, right? Because they need to write the funniest thing ever, and Rob quotes that exact line, Dan, where he says that like some men are born great and some men have greatness thrust upon them. Go watch the Dick Van Dyke Show, folks. In a world filled with hostility and anger, go watch the Dick Van Dyke Show. You're gonna have a great day, I promise.
That's 12th Night right there. That's Shakespeare right now. I'm reading that in my classes. Anyway.
Well, okay, there we go. See, I would have said it was Dick Van Dyke, Dan.
Nope, it's Shakespeare actually. All right, let's go forward here with the Minnesota moment here, I think.
Minnesota moment.
Dick Van Dyke, Shakespeare, I don't know. Same thing.
It's all the same, whatever. So, game 1, top 8, though. So we have to talk about this interference call. So here's what happens. So you have Churio singles on a ball that Lee had a chance on, and so then Turing singles. So you got runners on first and third. Turing steals second. So runners on second and third. Contreras is up at the plate. He hits a ball to Lee. And very surprising, and it's a close game, so you don't know exactly what's going to happen. But Lee can see that he's going to have a chance here at Churio because he's a little bit far off third base. So he flips it to Royce. Royce gets in great position. He grabs the ball, gets the tag down. Clearly he's out. The ump calls him out, okay? And so as soon as he calls him out, though, the ump, Dan, I'm saying it's one motion. Like, he gives the out call, and then he, like, goes into the circle to, like, talk to the umps. Like, he's like, we got to talk about this, guys. So he calls him out, and then they get together, and this is a non-reviewable play. Derek Shelton in his postgame was talking about this, like, I guess because of where Chourio was, it makes the play not reviewable or something. I didn't fully understand why it wasn't a reviewable play, but that's what everybody says, so it must be true that it wasn't reviewable. But so Shelton ends up getting tossed. And part of the reason is, Dan, is because we always talk about this. Last 2 seasons, actually, we've talked a ton about catchers and whether they can block the plate and when they can or when they can't and whether a play is interference or not. This, to me, Dan, Royce Lewis tags him before he can run into the base or Royce Lewis's foot. And that's what bothers me, in that Royce, even if he was blocking the lane to the base itself, does it really matter if he was out and it didn't impact the line that Chourio was taking back to third base? So I just think that it was a huge deflating moment for the 12 Twins fans who were there compared to the thousands of Brewers fans they're chanting. But I just think, Dan, that play should be reviewable. And secondly, where the tag happens should matter. Like, I understand that there's some subjectivity there, and you can just say, no, if he blocks it at all without the ball, then he needs to be out. No, there is some rationale here that we can use our logical brains, Dan, and understand that, no, actually, he's out. He's out here regardless of where Royce Lewis is standing.
So I don't watch a lot of NBA, but I watch it when the Timberwolves are in the playoffs. And one of the fascinating things about reviews in the NBA is that you can actually, like, even if there wasn't a foul, like, if you can basically look at the play freshly again, and, like, if there wasn't a foul called in the play, but you see that a foul was committed, they can actually call the foul. Yeah. That's what this should be. You should be able to look at this sensibly and say, you know what? There was no way he was getting back anyway. Now, I think baseball has this thing where, you know, it kind of likes to celebrate the times that guys dance around each other, and then one guy is able to, like, contort his body to touch the base. And I think it's somehow related to this, because I think there's this assumption that a guy could break out of the path back to the base and do a weird dance. Like, that the tag itself is important. And yet, he already tags him, like you said, before the foot was even. And that's where the common sense needs to come in. And it's kind of like playing pickup games with your buddies. Like, no, dude, you were out. You know, like you're trying to dance around here to be safe in a hypothetical, but you were out. And I don't like how they can't review that in an era when baseball is allowing more and more reviews. This should be reviewable, and Derek Shelton was right.
I think so, and I do think giving him home base too. Like, I understand that's how the rule is written. I'm not saying they did it wrong, but that was pretty frustrating. That it's like, especially in a game that was this tight, and, like, you know, that every run was very much going to matter. It's not like the Brewers were up 10-1 and this play meant nothing. No, this was a huge moment in this game, Dan.
Yeah. So I have one other moment that is important, I suppose, too, but differently. Bottom of the 8th of Game 3, when Keyshaw hit that triple and then scored the run. This is big for Luke Keyshaw as well, who's only hitting like 620-something OPS. He hasn't had a great year, 230. I mean, he's struggled more than he did last year.
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
But I'm glad to see the insurance run that they needed, right? And so... and then they get a one-run win out of it, too. So that was a big moment to me. You had to at least get a game in this very disappointing series.
No question. And I'm so glad we had some positivity to talk about, Dan. But with that, let's go ahead and get into Mauer's musings and get a little bit more negative.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
So I talked about being at this game on Friday night, Dan. And when you see an outfield that's jams out, make Ryan Kreidler and Austin Martin, you're thinking, this isn't going to go well. Like, the fact that they only lost this game 3-2 is shocking to me, that they even managed to put up 2 runs, because this lineup looks silly. But what I do want to talk about here is that Matt Bowman, if you remember, Dan, before the season began, he cut ties with the Twins, and he was like, you know what? No, I'm going to go somewhere else, and they're definitely going to sign me. And then no one else signed him. So he ended up back with a minor league deal with the Twins, and so here he is. And now, Dan, he's opting out again from the Twins, and the Twins need to either add him to their roster or they need to cut him loose by Wednesday. Now, the thing I want to talk about here, why this matters, Dan, is that he is dominated at AAA, okay? 25 strikeouts in 21 and a third innings here, which, again, the MLB the MLB bullpen for the Twins is a +5 ERA and a ton of blown saves. I understand that you'd need to make a 40-man move, but my goodness, Dan, do you not just give the guy a chance? He can't be worse than what we're throwing out there.
I didn't realize that was the situation. They could get him back after all of this, and he could actually play. Yeah, I see a lot of guys in the 40-man right now that you could get rid of right now. I mean, heck, you could probably get rid of Simeon Woods Richardson right now, and then he can take his spot. But there's other options here on this. That's fascinating to me. Yes, a guy who's actually proven himself to be worthy of a spot, he should totally have a spot. Go figure.
Yes. What do you have here, Dan?
So in previous years, we've talked a lot, actually, about veteran players who hung on. Actually, you talked about old Sounders. Here's one for you.
Don't worry, be happy.
So if you recall, so who's that Sounder for, by the way?
Joey Gallo.
So Joey Gallo stayed on that roster inexplicably deep into the season. I think he came up with an injury like in August and just never returned. But
he is the former Royce Lewis.
Yeah, but like the Twins have a habit of hanging on to veteran guys for some reason, to mitigate risk, I suppose. Yeah. Do you think this front office would be different? And I'm thinking of guys like Josh Bell right now. I think they'll keep Victor Caratini because they need another catcher. But James Outmake. I mean, do you think that there's a possibility they just say, you know what, guys, you've given us enough, but we're actually going to go with the young guys, given the fact that we're 5 or 6 games under 500?
I have no idea. I honestly, I don't have a feeling one way or another about it. I just don't know that this team has had enough turnover in the front office for them to change that mindset. The words have changed coming out of the front office, Dan, but the actions have not changed at all. So this would be a shocking move if 2 weeks from now we find out that Josh Bell and Victor Victorini, whoever he is, gets thrown by the wayside and they bring up young guys. Like you said, the Victorino situation is a little bit different because he needs to catch. But Josh Bell, man, it's so disappointing because he started so strong out of the gate, and I loved him so much because of the whole he didn't golf just to make sure that his swing stayed intact from the left side of the plate, and yet here we sit, Dan, and he has turned a corner, not in a good way.
No. All right, let's go on. Let's grade this series.
Series grades.
I mean, you got to give them a D. I think you can't blame the bullpen for any of these losses. They were 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position in Game 2. There is something to be said about Larnach and Buxton being out in Game 1 and Buxton not playing in any of these games. That certainly, it makes the lineups look so much worse, Dan. When you don't have Buxton's at bat coming up in the lineup, what happens is you get in a situation where a guy gets on base and then you look down the lineup and you're like, okay, who's batting next? And then you realize you have to go all the way around the lineup and you still don't find someone else who you think is going to be capable of getting a hit. And that's a problem, Dan.
Yeah, I'm a little more charitable in the end. So with the veterans, I gave him a 7 out of 10. I mean, Jeffers was excellent, but we didn't really have Buxton. Caratini was actually all right. In this series, he had some big spots. The mids and the youth, I each gave a 6 out of 10. You talked about, Lee for the youth. Keyshaw was not great. In the mids with Lewis, and then, Larnach didn't really even play much. But then the starters and the bullpen, I gave them each 9s out of 10. I think that the pitching staff was quite good overall in this. Good enough, certainly, to win a couple, maybe all 3. So that ends up being a 39 out of 50, which is a C+, David.
Well, that's not a bad score, Dan. I mean, you pass the class, and your parents probably aren't even that upset because it starts with a C.
Well, I tell you, okay, so speaking of passing classes, so we're coming up on summer, actually, David. June 21st is summer officially, even though schools are usually out before then. And we have a sponsor again. Rave Sports is back, and Rave Sports knows your lake life starts a lot earlier than June 21st. You're probably getting ready for dock-in, and this is the best time to take an inventory of all your lake life essentials. If you need new life jackets, Rave Sports. If you want to blow your kid's mind with a water trampoline, Rave Sports. Water skis, a better rope, even a big easy water couch in the lake. It's all at Rave Sports. So don't sleep on summer. Figure out what you need. Head to ravesports.com and use promo code PULLTAB for 20% off your order. Rave Sports. Make waves.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
So you'd mentioned the White Sox here, Dan, and right now they're sitting in second in the AL. They just walked off the Cubs on an Edgar Quero home run in a crazy back-and-forth game that went into the extra innings. I think it was the 11th when they walked him off. But the White Sox, how many years have we been told, Dan, that like, oh man, this is the year. And then they cleaned house a year or two ago, and then you're like, okay, well, no, the White Sox are going to be terrible. And here they are, Dan. I understand they're in a terrible division, but they look like they could actually fight the Guardians for the division lead here.
You know, and the part that's kind of disappointing to me is the Royals are 20-27 at the bottom of the division right now, because they looked like the up and coming team. It's easier for me, and maybe I got family in Kansas City and Chicago, but for some reason I can root for the Royals more than I can root for the White Sox. As kind of like once the Twins are done and the playoffs are going. But also, you're not like a root for the AL Central guy in the playoffs, are you?
No, not, it's so funny because in the NFC, AFC, like for football, I tend to be that way a little bit. But for whatever reason, when it comes to baseball, I just really can't stand cheering for the AL Central, Dan.
A couple other notes here. Nice. That was good. You got the gesture down. So Aaron Gleeman is somebody that we have cited a lot on this show. He's actually leaving his post at The Athletic. He started his own website, or maybe returned to his own website, AaronGleeman.com. We obviously wish him the best professionally here. Interesting, because he kind of turned down a chance to be an MLB national writer. This is the kind of choice we want athletes to make, like to stay local, stay in Minnesota and not go national. And there you go. So I guess I applaud that choice.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do wonder a little bit about The Athletic, because I think they're keeping Dan Hayes on as the Twins writer. And I just hope that, this isn't a trend that The Athletic is getting away from local coverage, because one of the reasons why The Athletic is such a good subscription model is because they're offering writing that you actually care about. And it's not just ESPN gobbledygook where they're just making stuff up about your team. When you can read things that are just factually inaccurate about the team that you follow closely, it's infuriating. And you're like, you published this? Did you even spend a minute looking to see if what you're writing is true? And I understand that, yes, okay, if they get a letter wrong here or there, if they get one stat line wrong, that's something. But it's not good writing, Dan, when you don't have somebody who's focused on the individual team. So I've really appreciated Gleeman writing for a long time. And I still appreciate that Dan Hayes is going to be at the Athletic covering the Twins for us.
And then the Mariners have actually made a big move. They've called up Colt Emerson, who they've already signed to a $95 million contract. So I guess you got to use the guy. This is like keeping a really nice car in your garage and never driving it. So hopefully Colt Emerson comes out and plays really well for the Mariners here. They're obviously hopeful for him, especially with Cal Raleigh on the injured list.
Is it real? Was Cal Raleigh's injury real, Dan?
Yeah, I think it was, because that was what was. It wasn't the superstitious shower with his jersey on. I mean, he really did have it. It's an oblique injury, David. Those things. I mean, if anybody knows anything about that, that's me, obviously.
Maybe he slipped getting out of the shower, Dan.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
All right, should we? Let's move forward here. We got the pick for the series here. The Twins are playing everybody's favorite, the Astros.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's Picks.
Sadly, no Correa returning to the stadium.
What a shame here. Oh yeah, because
I'm hoping to go to one of these games, and I was hoping that there would be some significant boos. But anyway, so the listeners are going to take Jeffers because they are not confident that Buxton's going to play, and then it goes to you, Dan.
Well, actually, it goes to you first, David. You get the first right of refusal here. Oh,
thank you. Well, no, I will exercise that right. I'm going to go with Trevor Larnach, Dan.
I can't let Hogs get Buxton, so I am picking Buxton defensively here, thinking that even if I get a 0, he's got to play. Otherwise, they would have put him on the injured list by now. So I'm going to say Buxton comes back with that hip
If he's
flexor.
The one guy on your team providing offense, I think you'll let him stew for a little bit if he needs a little time and just see if he can bounce back in 5 days as opposed to 10, Dan.
All right, well, I'll take him. And then Hogs is last, and he is going to stick with Austin Martin, who's been pretty good at getting about 5 points a series. So maybe that will be enough.
All right, well, thank you, Dan. This was a fun afternoon. Good that we got to talk about at least one victory. Hopefully, Dan, when we get back here on Wednesday, we'll be talking about a series sweep against your Houston Astros.
Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win. You can find our Men for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages as well. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast or your favorite platform so you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you'd leave us a rating or like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thanks for listening. And as always, go Twins.
That'll wrap up another episode of Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, with special guest appearances from Andrew Hogs Hoganson, 3 avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Minnesota Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins!